This is Nick Sakiewicz, Commissioner of the National Lacrosse League, and you're listening to Pro Lacrosse Talk.
On Schreiber.
Sidearm whip, scores!
Now it's one. Fidel scores! Hands off for Rabel, switches hands and scores!
Carly O'Miller showing off those shifty skills.
Right off the bat, there's Lyle Thompson.
We are. We are.
Welcome to Season 2 of the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast, the voice of Pro Lacrosse. I'm Hutton, he's Adam, and together we're bringing you interviews from all your favorite players and coaches, as well as news and analysis from all 4 professional lacrosse leagues. Welcome to another episode of Pro Lacrosse Talk. This is episode 117, and today we're talking all things NLL, because there's a new team on the block, the Panther City Lacrosse Club. I'm joined as always by my co-host Adam Moore. Adam, what is happening today?
Going on, everyone? Excited to talk this new squad that's about to take the NLL by storm. Excited for all this really exciting news going on in the indoor game and the box game. Really excited to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, the NLL is making moves. We have a new team, the Panther City Lacrosse Club. You know, kind of had rumblings that might be the name back in May. There was a trademark filed for that. Fort Worth Panthers was filed earlier in February. That's kind of the first instance that we had that, you know, they might go with this name. I was kind of holding on for Stampede or Herd. Those were also names that were registered, I guess maybe to, you know, throw us off the scent a little bit. But what were your thoughts on this name? Again, they kind of go the PLL route here. They don't have a traditional nickname, kind of deviate from the rest of the NLL teams and go Panther City Lacrosse Club. Panther City is the nickname for Fort Worth. So it's, you know, pretty apropos, but you know, kind of unique in its own right. What do you think of the name?
Yeah, you know, just going off of kind of the social media outreach I saw and the connections they were making with Fort Worth fans, everyone seemed to be really excited about the name. You know, they had a great turnout. We'll hear from Commissioner Sakiewicz in a little bit, but they had a great turnout at the announcement. And I think it's a fantastic name. You want to make it something that the home faithful will really enjoy. And it seems just from everything I was reviewing on social, the Fort Worth fans themselves are really, really excited with this name. And, you know, I saw some pushback, but they weren't Fort Worth fans, right? They were fans of maybe some other teams in the league that maybe they weren't as big of a fan of the name. So as long as the home faithful like it, I'm all for it, and love the design. Thought it was really cool. Adding a fourth purple squad to the league, which is pretty interesting. So, but yeah, no, really enjoy the logo. Pretty cool name. Excited to see what they do once they hit the box.
Yeah, I don't like the name. I'm not going to lie. You know, I get if, you know, you're right. It resonates well probably with Fort Worth fans because, you know, they know it as Panther City. But if I'm like somebody that doesn't know that Fort Worth is Panther City, which, you know, obviously I knew going into it, but a lot of people probably didn't, you know, you're kind of like, oh, Panther City, where's that? You know, I don't know. And then there's nothing in Fort Worth that really, you know, I get the history behind it. They say, you know, there's a news clipping, I think, from the 1800s, and there's actually kind of a slight that they kind of turned into, you know, kind of a rallying cry for the Fort Worth. But I'm not really a fan. I mean, I thought you could have gone Fort Worth Panthers. I just think Panthers in general isn't that great of a nickname since it's already shared by a pro football team and a pro hockey team. You know, I feel like you could have gone a little bit different route, differentiated yourself a little bit with, you know, Stampede or Herd. I don't think there's no at least major pro sports team with those names. I don't know. I look at a team like the Seattle Kraken and what they were able to do. You know, Seattle had a hockey team there called the Metropolitans a long time ago. They could have maybe gone back to their roots and gone that route, but there's already, you know, the Metropolitans, the New York Mets. They kind of went for a new identity with the Kraken. So I don't really like the name. I like, you know, ties to the city. You know, I would have been fine with Fort Worth Panthers probably, even though, again, you're adding a third pro sports team with the team named Panthers. But Panther City Lacrosse Club, I wasn't huge on the PLL trend of saying lacrosse club. I can live with it because, you know, they don't have cities. Whereas this, it's like, keep it simple. Do city, then nickname. I don't know. Wasn't a huge fan. I do really like the logo. The logo looks really sweet to me. I like the colors as well, the purple and red and the silver. Those are actually, as a Ravens fan, I think those are the colors I wish The Ravens would kind of like lean into more. I know they have a little bit gold accent, but I wish they would actually maybe use more red and silver. So I do like the colors, but you did mention it is the fourth team that uses the color purple, and really the third that has it as a main color. The Bandits use purple as an accent color. But yeah, you have the Seals and the Thunderbirds, two recent teams, adopting purple as their main color. You also notice, as many fans did too, that the Panther City logo looks very similar to the Seals logo in terms of its design and even, like the whiskers on the seal and the Panther. So that too is like, by itself, I think it's a great logo, but it's also like a little too similar to the Seals that joined the league 2 years ago. So, overall, all just meh. I'm happy we have a 14th team. The league has never had this many teams before, which is just great. And we're going to have two more within a span of probably 2 to 3 years. We'll get into that a little bit more when we talk to the commissioner. But overall, I'm not upset. Like I don't hate it like I did the Water Dogs. I think
I was about to bring that up.
Yeah, I don't think we need to rehash that, but again, I think it could have been better,
Yeah.
I don't hate it, but I definitely don't love it either.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, it's definitely, we kind of see it as a trend, right? When it comes to the style logo, the PLL brought kind of that crest logo into it. We see the MLS using a lot of that crest style logos. Kind of, it seems to be the fad right now when a team, an expansion team comes into play. It seems like that style is what's hot right now, and that's completely fine. They're playing off of what sells at the moment, and kind of same thing with the lacrosse club style, right? The PLL did it. MLS squads are doing soccer club a lot of times, or football club. So it's what's hot right now, and hopefully it's hot in Texas, right? So it only makes sense that they go what's hot.
Yeah, no, and you did bring up a good point earlier too, that the Fort Worth fans really seem to embrace it, which that's really all that matters. You want your city embracing it first. And I actually do like, how they have the little ties to like what it looks like the top of the Alamo in that crest logo. I mean, again, the colors I think work really well together. Lacrosse Flash put out some cool uniform mock-ups that I really hope, they go that route. If you guys haven't seen those are on social media. The shout out to the guys at Lacrosse Flash for Austin Owens for designing those. But overall, again, just meh for me. The biggest news though that really got me excited, that we didn't really expect, was the NLL shop on Fanatics. That deal I think is huge. Again, you're bringing all the merchandise into a centralized location. And then these teams can still sell brick and mortar and at arenas like they have in the past, but the NLL is kind of taking this kind of as another revenue stream. But Commissioner Sakiewicz in our interview that's going to come up too mentioned too, it's again just allowing fans to have easier access to their licensed merchandise. So far they have jerseys up there that you can order. Hopefully they add maybe a customization option. They got t-shirts. Apparently we've heard there's more stuff on the way too. So if you're looking at the selection right now and you're like, there's not really anything I'm interested in, more is to come. So definitely, stay tuned for that. And Fanatics has deals with all these other major sports leagues. So you can now go to the Fanatics website and you can get your NFL apparel, the same place you can get your NLL apparel. And I think that's huge because, we're going to have some random other pro sports fans stumble across the NLL, and that's good for the game to grow long term. What were your thoughts, when you heard this news? Were you expecting it at all?
Yeah, no, I mean, with everything that the NLL has been doing to promote the league, it seemed like only a matter of time something like this would come about. And it's really exciting to see the league kind of on the same site, like you said, with those four major sports leagues. All those touch points, right, are super important, right? What to grow and develop the league. We talked to him about kind of the gambling side of things too, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the more the league can be out there, and this is just one of those ways to really help grow the game and add some revenue when they can.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We keep teasing it. So without further ado, let's toss to our interview with Commissioner Nick Sakiewicz.
I'm here with Commissioner Nick Sakiewicz, fresh off a busy week that included the unveiling of the NLL's newest franchise and announcement of the league's partnership with the Fanatics. Commissioner Sakiewicz, thanks for joining us again.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So Nick, let's go right into it. And you guys unveiled Panther City Lacrosse Club just over a week ago. How has it been since that announcement? And what was the local vibe like in the Panther City when you were there for the announcement?
It was really awesome. I mean, the ownership of Bill Cameron and Greg Bibb down there and the whole staff that they've assembled did a first-class job. And what's going to be really a new standard of arena in the NLL. Dickey's Arena was spectacular. The team did a great job in putting on a first-class event. There were about 150 people in attendance, a bunch of media, all of the North Dallas, North Texas, actually, area, Fort Worth media were there covering the story. So it was terrific. Plus, they've created this amazing brand in Panther City Lacrosse Club, and the also unveiling of some really cool traditions that Greg talked about in his opening remarks, just doing it the right way. So it was really exciting to be a part of. I'm glad I took the trip down there to be with them, and was honored to be on stage with the mayor's representative and community leaders, and of course Greg. It was a great announcement.
Yeah, it looked like a great unveiling, and it's located in the Midwest, which we talked about when we last talked, how you kind of want to start populating, all throughout North America. We know that expansion teams 15 and 16 are also on the way. What can we expect in terms of division realignment in the future? Will we see 4 divisions when Fort Worth joins in 2021-22? Or is the league going to stick with 3 divisions for a little bit until you reach 16 teams?
Yeah, that's the plan. And, that Fort Worth geographic region was so important as the 14th team, just to start to balance out the North American footprint. Team 15 will further help balance out geographically. So that's really important. The plan is we went to 3 divisions from 2 last season. And the plan is when we get to 16 teams to go to a 4 division alignment for the foreseeable future.
That's great. And Hutton did mention those expectations of 2 more expansion franchises. When can we expect the announcement of that new location for Team 15?
We're getting close. We've got a lot of interest in the market that we're really focusing in on, and I would expect soon. It's hard to handicap these things, as they're fluid negotiations, and they're constantly developing, and there's a lot of back and forth, but I think we're kind of down towards the short strokes on a deal in a fantastic new market. And I'm cautiously optimistic that at the beginning of the year, maybe first quarter of the year, we'll have an announcement on Team 15. We could be the only league announcing 2 expansion teams in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm crossing my fingers that happens.
No, that would be great. We're definitely like to see how the league is still growing and kind of dealing with this pandemic. Let's kind of go to this upcoming season, though. We're going to get live lacrosse this April. When can we expect a full schedule announcement? And how have you guys been coordinating, with the pro field leagues whose seasons typically start in June? And, how are you guys just preparing overall for this upcoming season?
Yeah, I mean, that's the immediate order of business, is to develop a schedule, and trying to figure out what that schedule looks like is really challenging in these times. As you know, the Canadian-U.S. border is still shut down, so movement across that border has to lift. There's a bunch of stuff that has to happen. We have 13 teams competing in this year's competition, and there are literally 13 different sets of restrictions to deal with in local markets. And we're hopeful by the time April comes along, we'll be able to play in front of fans in all of those markets. If not, we're still looking at different scenarios. We're aiming at trying to get a full season in. We may be forced to do a shorter season, shorter number of games, be it 16 or 12 or 14 instead of our usual 18 games. So it's kind of like walking in quicksand. It's all a little very, very fluid, and lots of things to consider, but that's first order of business right now. We have a scheduling committee made up of a number of our board members that's focusing on working on this every day. With regards to the two outdoor leagues, we are meeting with them weekly and discussing ways and ideas on how we can work around the crossover of our season with the two outdoor leagues. As you guys probably know, we have a very large number of NLL players that play in both leagues, and our goal, our stated goal, is to have those players play as much lacrosse as they can this summer. We don't want to be an impediment to the outdoor leagues, and we have standing calls with both leagues. In fact, we have one today with the PLL, and I'll be speaking with Sandy Brown either later today or tomorrow. And we're working very closely with those two leagues to make sure that we can play as much lacrosse as we can, indoors and outdoors, for the fans and the players.
Great to hear. And, we also wanted to talk about a couple more announcements that the leagues recently made. Let's talk a little bit about the announcement that NLLshop.com has a new deal with Fanatics. How important was it to have a centralized location for NLL team merchandise? And how does merchandise factor into kind of the revenue strategy going forward?
Well, everyone knows licensed merchandise, and when a fan puts a hat or a jersey on their backs, that's a sign of passion and investment in their local brand, and it's so important. The league, for many years, never had an e-commerce strategy. It was kind of disparate. Some teams had a e-commerce retail strategy, and others had none. Most of the merchandise was sold in arena at venue around games, and the league really didn't have a 365 day out of the year sales platform. As everyone knows, internet retail, the advent of outlet retailers like Amazon and Fanatics in the sports licensed merchandising space really have become far and away the leaders, and Fanatics is the leader in the vertical of sports licensed merchandise worldwide. And it also opens a worldwide market for us. So not just as a new revenue stream for the league, but really unlocking that e-commerce, pulling it all under one umbrella, giving consumers an easy place to go to NLLshop.com, making it easy for them to buy merchandise is really important from a relevance standpoint, not just a revenue standpoint. So yes, it's nice to have a new revenue stream in the league. It's going to take a while for us to build it up, but we have a new business in that e-commerce. But more importantly, we have very easy access for fans to get licensed merchandise.
Fantastic. And this year you'll also be announcing a new Hall of Fame class. When can we expect the announcement on that class?
Well, we spent a lot of time redesigning the Hall of Fame and really molding it to something that the league and the players and the fans could be proud of, something more consistent with a wider voting contingency. So now we have, I think, well over 40 people that have been invited in to vote on those candidates. It's going to be a fantastic class, and we're going to be really excited to be unveiling that class and in the very near future. Not exactly sure when we're slated to make those announcements. I think there's still some voting and some collection of information on the candidates that some people who are voting have requested. So that's still going on, but really excited to rebrand the Hall of Fame, get it out there, and honor the great players that have been nominated this year.
We're certainly excited to see who, is the next class of this Hall of Fame. For our final question, I want to talk a little bit about sports betting. You guys signed a deal with BetMGM last season with hopes of introducing betting in 2020. That was put on pause due to COVID, but what are your plans for sports betting this upcoming season? And when can we expect, maybe future odds to come out for these teams and this upcoming season?
Yeah, we're unfortunately we were going to roll it out during playoffs last year. That didn't happen, as you said. We took advantage of the time we had throughout the summer to really get all our ducks in a row, so to speak, in terms of our partnership with BetMGM, and Sport Genius is our distribution partner for our stats and information, and we're planning on doing a full-on rollout for this new season with BR Live and all of our teams. So I think you're going to see some really exciting stuff and lines coming out on NLL games and opportunities for fans to engage. It's such an important part of our strategy because it's pretty well known in the sports industry that fans and people who are interested in sports that bet on sports are 80% more likely to follow those sports. So it's a huge marketing strategy. There is no market for lacrosse betting today. So we're partnering with BetMGM and Genius Sports to build that marketplace over the long haul.
No, we're certainly looking forward to it. I know you talked about how, important that is in terms of engagement for fans as well, and, attracting new fans. So we're certainly looking forward to the addition of that in this upcoming season. Commissioner Sakiewicz, thank you again for your time, and we look forward to this April 2021.
Awesome. Thanks. It's always great talking to you guys.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast. Today I want to talk to you about our sponsor, Anchor. We've been using Anchor for the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast since the very start. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place, and better yet, it's free. They allow you to easily record and edit your podcast, and once it's published, they send it out to all the major networks such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. They also connect you with advertisers so you can start making money from your podcast right away. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast today, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Today I also want to talk to you about our affiliate SmartBackstop. SmartBackstop is different from traditional backstops in that it actually attaches to your net, preventing any missed shots up to 4 feet high and wide of the net. It can also be easily folded down behind the net for easy storage. Plus, this thing is built to last and is used by some of the top college teams. I'm someone who spent countless hours chasing missed shots in my backyard as a kid, and I wish I had this on my net. It would have saved me a lot of time and money on lost lacrosse balls. The best thing is right now SmartBackstop is giving listeners $20 off their purchase and free shipping. Just use the code PLT at checkout, place your order, and then get practicing.
All right, so you guys heard our interview with Nick Sakiewicz. A lot of exciting stuff. He mentioned he was down there in Fort Worth for the Panther City unveiling. He also talked a little bit about that deal with Fanatics and also a little bit about, when we could see some new expansion teams kind of revealed. So it sounds like they're getting really close to Team 15. We could get some news this spring, if not, a little bit later. And that kind of, we didn't get much hints there about where that market could be. I mean, I know me and you, Adam, both have an idea of what we think it is. He did give us a tiny hint saying that, they're trying to really populate all of North America, and this kind of helps them do that. Based on that, where do you think Team 15 is going to end up?
Yeah, the writing seems to be on the wall already. We already had a game there this past season. Vegas just seems like the choice. It makes complete sense. They had a great game there this past season. It just makes sense that Vegas is the next stop for the league, especially when we talk about kind of location-wise. It makes sense that that'd be the next spot.
Yeah, no, I think too with the addition of betting, it just makes a lot of sense. We got Panther City Lacrosse Club. Could we get Lax Vegas Lacrosse Club? Who knows? I hope they go a little bit more unique route. And again, maybe stick to the traditional. I'm pulling for Blackjacks. I think that would be a cool name. We already had the Atlantic City Blackjacks in the AFL, the Arena Football League. They folded though with that league, so that name's up for grabs. I think it's Vegas too. Again, like you said, there's too many signs pointing towards Vegas. The interesting thing is though too what the ownership group is going to be, because they definitely have the city already picked out. But when we last talked to them, they were actually still deciding between which ownership group, which is a great sign for the league. Not only do you have multiple cities bidding for teams, you have multiple ownership groups in cities bidding for teams. So I think that's huge. And then Team 16 is in the finalization stages as well. It sounds like that, maybe may not be decided just yet, but we kind of have some ideas. We think Las Vegas is the next logical stop, but where do you think Team 16 could end up? Could we return to a market that the NLL has already been? Could we go somewhere new? What are your favorite spots for Team 16?
Yeah, a place where the league has already been, but I think with the right ownership group could really thrive is a place like Chicago. They've been there in the past. Turnout wasn't that great for when the Shamrocks were around, but I really think a place like Chicago with the game growing in the Midwest would really thrive. in a place like Chi-Town. So I think that's one spot. And, if you're heading up north, a place like Montreal would be a pretty cool spot too, in Canada, if they're looking to add another team north of the border. I think those are two spots that I definitely could see the league growing.
Yeah, no, and the Chicago definitely, helps them kind of populate that Midwest, like we've talked about. Windy City Lacrosse Club. I'm going to keep doing this as we go. But, I like Chicago a lot. They, had that 1-year experiment with the Shamrocks. That was during a time where the league was pretty unstable. The expansion teams were coming and going left and right. I love Montreal too, as a destination. Again, you kind of populate more areas of Canada. You could go the Montreal Express route if you want to bring back that team name. You could go Quebec Caribou as well. Or do the French spelling. I really like that name again, ode to some old history there with the National Lacrosse League of old.
Yeah, and if we're looking at those old teams, back in the day, Steve Holroyd has a ton of really awesome footage that he released pretty recently. But, man, I can't get enough of that old Maryland Arrows logo. I know I'm biased, and I don't think Baltimore's going to get a team anytime soon, but man, that Maryland Arrows jersey on a new looking jersey would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see Baltimore Thunder. I just think, I don't think the DC metro area will really get a team just because it's too close to Philly.
Yep.
And again, DC Sports is, you could maybe get the Leonses to buy a team, maybe if there's enough interest there, put them in Capital One Arena. I think that would be cool. Bring back the Washington Wave maybe, or Washington Power. But I really don't think they'll go that route. The city that I think they're really going to go to is Nashville. There's already rumors that Georgia was going to relocate to Nashville a few years ago. That fell through, and I think they'll remain in Georgia for the time being. But Nashville, I think, would be a prime market for them. It's a growing city. They've embraced the Predators there. You have them play there in that arena, and I think that would be a perfect spot in Bridgestone Arena. Or if you want to return to a market, Minnesota, I think, would really embrace a team. Again, I think there were some issues there with ownership, and that's why they moved to Georgia. But bring a team back to Minnesota, Minneapolis area. I don't think would be a bad idea as well. And I know Winnipeg was also one that was maybe tossed around if they do want to expand to Canada, because then you kind of hit all the provinces, I think, if you get one in Winnipeg. So who knows? We're just all speculating here, but those are some of the top spots we think they could land. Again, I don't think they go really south. I think Texas was a good check the box off. I don't really see them going to Phoenix. Florida, again, I think is a little shaky, even though the state of Tampa sports has been pretty good recently. I just don't think the risk is enough. I think the risk is a little too high there, but yeah, we'll definitely see. Hopefully soon. Our next discussion a little bit, we talked to the commissioner, is about the Hall of Fame. Now, they didn't really give us much to work with when we're going to hear about this Hall of Fame class. Voting is still going on right now. Me and Adam do not have a vote in who gets into the Hall of Fame, but we do have, some choices that we would like to see made. Adam, talk to me a little bit about some guys you'd like to see in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, I know my Philly bias comes in through and through, even as much as I try and damper it down. But a guy like Jake Berge and Kevin Finneran, the two former Philly Wings multi-time champions. Finneran won one with the Rock too, which kind of breaks my heart. But those two guys are locks. I think that really need to be. And both, interestingly enough, were on the final ballot back in Berge. Interestingly enough, was on in 14-15, wasn't a finalist in 16, and Kevin Finneran was a finalist in 15 and 16 and didn't make it. So I think he certainly is deserving. If either of them, since Kevin Finneran was around a little bit before Jake's time, we were talking on Instagram with Dallas Elliott, and he is absolutely all in on Finn making it this year. So, and then, the obvious names too on people's lists, you can talk to the John Grant Jr.'s, the Colin Doyles, that seem that they'd be locks as well.
Yeah, no, I think Colin Doyle and John Grant Jr. are shoo-ins. To me, if you make a list, I think there's 3 tiers. Those guys are the top tiers. They're getting in. There's just they would have been in 2017 if they had one. 2016 was the last class they had. They both were playing in the league at that time. So I think they're first ballot, Hall of Famers. And I do think, Jake Berge and Finneran also probably make it in. My next tier would be those two guys, as well as I think Casey Powell deserves to be in, the only American to win MVP. And then Anthony Cosmo and Micah Kersey both have, historic resumes that I think puts them in the Hall of Fame as well. The only interesting thing with the NLL Hall of Fame is it's been tough to get in. The only time they've elected 5 members was the inaugural class in 2006. Since then, they've only elected 3 at the most. Some years it was only 1, so in recent years, the last class was 3. So it's tough to make it in the NLL Hall of Fame. And I actually like it that way. Sometimes you see these Hall of Fames kind of get diluted, a little bit. NLL Hall of Fame is the cream of the crop. So I think even some of these guys that we've listed, there's some other ones that definitely deserve, like Evan Prout, Lewis Ratcliffe, Jay Jalbert, Chris Gill, even Glenn Clark's name been thrown around a little bit. New England Black Wolves coach. I think he's probably deserving too. Those guys are more the fringe for me. I don't think they get in this class, but it's going to really be interesting how many get in. Do we see another class that's, around 2 or 3, or is it going to be a bigger class since, we've been on hiatus since 2016? Who knows? We really don't know, but we hope the votes come in and we get a pretty solid class. Again, though, I think the 2 shoo-ins, John Grant Jr., Colin Doyle, if you could bet on who makes it in the Hall of Fame, those are the 2 guys I'm betting on. And a lot of respect for, like you mentioned, Jake Berge and Kevin Finneran as well. So yeah, those are our kind of picks for the Hall of Fame. They might announce this 2020 class actually in 2021. They're taking their time with it, which there's nothing wrong with that, but hopefully we get some news on that. And then the final piece of news that we talked to the commissioner, which I was itching to ask him, is about gambling. He confirmed that they were planning on doing it last playoffs. That was pretty much a given when they announced their deal with BetMGM. That unfortunately fell through because of COVID, but they are, full steam ahead now. And it sounds like, they really want to take it to the next level. So this brings us to our segment where we currently don't have any future odds for these teams, but me and you, Adam, kind of talked through it and we came up with our own future odds. So we're going to predict the future odds. These again are solely the creation of Pro Lacrosse Talk. There have not been any public future odds released by any sports book just yet. But we're going to take a stab at it. And then we're going to make our value picks based on that. So we kind of went off the standings of last year, as well as, looking at some of the moves these teams made. So right now we have the Thunderbirds and the Black Wolves at plus 400 odds to win the NLL championship in 2021. The Rock and Rush and Bandits sit at plus 500. Then we have the Wings at plus 800, followed by the Swarm at plus 1,000, the Mammoth plus 1,000. The Roughnecks and Seals we have at plus 1,500. And then the Warriors, Riptide, and Nighthawks we have at plus 2,000. So those are our future odds. Again, these are not official. These are solely based on our opinions. We kind of ranked the teams first, and then we, created the odds based on that. But going off of these odds, Adam, if these were the odds that they actually released by BetMGM, what would be your value pick? What's a team that you think is maybe a little bit undervalued that you would maybe throw some money at, and hopes that they could actually make a run at the championship?
Yeah, I know. There's 2. I know I've been harking home the Philly thing, but at plus 800, the Wings were really on a tear last year. And I think another year under the belt with that squad coming together, I think that's a really strong one. And also, the Mammoth added Zeddy Ball game. So those 2 squads between the Wings at plus 800 and the Mammoth at plus 1,000 with their revamped offense in the big house, I think those are 2 great options at those numbers.
Yeah, so I like those a lot. I'm going to go a little bit more extreme and go Riptide. They add, arguably one of the top players in the league last year. Well, he was one of the top players in the league last year. Arguably could have been MVP in Callum Crawford this offseason. They bring in a veteran backup goaltender to be their starter in Steve Orleman. He's been waiting in the wings in Georgia for a while. And, overall, I just like the makeup of this team, the coaching staff that they brought in with Dan Lattisaur. So, again, I don't think they're going to win the championship, but if I'm looking, to place a small bet with a high possible return, maybe, go Riptide. There's no harm, no foul there. But if I wanted maybe a little bit of a safer bet, I would go Toronto Rock. I mean, I think they look really solid. Mitch DeSnew, adding him in the offseason is big. Again, you're not going to probably get as much bang for your buck if you place that bet. But in terms of an actual contender, I'd say the Toronto Rock are an actual contender, as well as the Thunderbirds. They didn't lose anybody. They added Tyson Bell in the offseason. Again, those two teams to me are the teams to beat really in this league. And if you really want to, bet on a contender, I would bet on those two. So those are our thoughts on this. Again, these are not official odds. We're going to look forward to see when these official odds do come out and see how close we actually were to them. Again, the interesting thing too with Vegas is they're kind of working from a blank slate like they did with the PLL this past season. They can kind of really just go off of previous seasons. So I think you will see odds based off of the standings last year. They don't even have to have playoffs to go off of necessarily. So I think you'll see odds pretty close to each other. And it'll probably be, again, based off the standings of last year. So, that benefits, if you really like the Roughnecks makeup, it really benefits, a team like that, maybe underperformed in the standings last year, but, lost some close games and it still could possibly be a contender. That we are definitely looking forward to sports betting again. We launched Pro Lacrosse Bets last season. We're going to definitely keep that going in the future as well. So for all your betting information on lacrosse, definitely come to us. Dan Newbert, our resident betting expert, is going to be coming on the show a little bit more. Me and Adam have dabbled in betting. We can definitely make informed betting decisions based on our lacrosse knowledge. But Dan actually is a great person to kind of help us too, because he kind of takes the emotion out of it. And that's the key in sports betting. You definitely want to find value where others don't. But you also got to take, some emotion out of your bets as well. Adam, you're letting your heart talk a little bit with the wings. You gotta take that emotion out of it.
I think that's smart. I'm trying to keep my biases out of it. I think based off of their track record, if you put a blank slate and they were I don't even know, a random team that I probably wouldn't like, I would still think that at plus 800 they're a good chance for us. I know my biases come through usually, but I don't think they always do. I think this one is a head and the heart.
Head and the heart. I like it. Yeah. And we could put some stuff on the line too. Me versus you. I still owe you cheesesteaks. I was hoping to get some crab cakes out of our little showdown this past summer. I still owe you cheesesteaks though. So we will definitely get that when we see each other next, and then we'll put some more crab cakes and cheesesteaks on the line this upcoming NLL season. But that wraps up this episode. We want to, send a thank you to the commissioner for coming on the show. We thank you all for listening. Tweet us your value picks for betting. Let us know who you're going with. I know we have a lot of Saskatchewan Rush fans following our account, and I'm sure they're a little disappointed we didn't mention them. I think they're right up there with the contenders as well. So if you're a Rush fan, are you putting your money on there? Is there another team that we maybe overlooked that you think is going to be a safe bet? So let us know who you think it would be a great bet to bet on at the start of this season. Be sure to check out our social media accounts. We have a lot of great content coming up. We have some stuff in the works for the new year. So just keep following us. We're really excited to unveil a lot of cool things coming this coming year. So again, stick with us, and we hope you enjoy this episode of Pro Lacrosse Talk.
Today I also want to talk to you about our affiliate Streaker Sports. Streaker Sports features an array of throwback t-shirts and apparel, including t-shirts of defunct major indoor lacrosse league teams such as the Baltimore Thunder, New York Saints, Syracuse Smash, and Boston Blazers. They also provide custom uniforms and shorts that are perfect for your rec team's upcoming lacrosse tournament or season. Better yet, we've teamed up with Streaker Sports to provide you with a special discount. Simply visit streakersports.com and use the code PLT to save 15% on your order today.